Dyslexia Strengths is true. See the whole picture of dyslexia. This is important. My name is Susanna Cederquist. I am from Sweden, and I am a lecturer and speaker about dyslexia. From the beginning, I am a teacher with a teacher degree from 2007, and I have also a supplement with dyslexia special education courses. I have been writing 2 books about dyslexia, and I am the chairman of WHOLE, International Dyslexia Strengths Network. And in social media, my name is En Bild of Dyslexi, and that is Swedish and means one picture of dyslexia, or a picture of dyslexia. And for me, this picture became very important for me as a child. I think I saw it the first time when I was 12 years old. And in this picture there are animals, different kind of animals, and in front of them there are a teacher, and he tells them, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And that is easy for some of them, but much harder for others. And we can also see why. So for me, this picture became very important because I understand more about our natural differences. The natural differences here in these animals, but also in us human. Because we human are different from each other. And I started early to see, of course, the problems in reading and writing. But also, when I compared families, I also saw something more connected to dyslexia, and that was the dyslexic strengths. And it became more clear for me during the years and when I grew up, and when I started the teacher education, I decided to write my exam essay about dyslexia. So I wrote about dyslexia and music, how dyslexia can affect the music area. But I also wrote about the dyslexic strengths because it became more deep for me. I saw them more clear, and I did a lot of interviews in the early like in 2004. I did the most of the work in 2005, and I did a lot of interviews, and I saw this so clear. The things that I have seen since a long time, I saw so clear when I interviewed people with dyslexia. They experience, of course, the problem, but also the dyslexic strengths. And from 2009, I became a lecturer and speaker in this field to talk about the whole picture of dyslexia. Today, I help schools to understand students' differences, how we can create an accessible and sustainable education. I help people with dyslexia with a view of themselves and finding their ways of doing things. I help workplaces and companies to improve skills more. So for the main time, I am a lecturer and speaker, and I'm a lot in schools and educate teachers about this, and also in the teacher education sometimes in Sweden. And I'm also in working places and companies to talk about how we need to view dyslexia and understand dyslexia more, and also the whole picture of it. I'm also an advisor in different situations. And for example, I work together with Prince Carl Philip and the Princess Sofia's foundation. And this is, they also do a work around dyslexia and also would like to share the whole picture of it. So I have helped them from their start with information about the whole picture of dyslexia and the dyslexic strength, and also contacts all over the world. So I'm an expert advisor to them. And I have also courses, and this is also very nice part of my job. I have courses for university students with dyslexia. I also help and work with the universities how they need to do to create an accessibility education, and how they need to think from a dyslexic perspective. But I work also with the dyslexic students in dyslexia courses with them. I also work with adults with dyslexia and in courses, so they better understand themselves and how they work and why, and so they better understand their competencies. And I also work with parents. I have courses for parents with children with dyslexia. Dyslexia, common myths. I'm going to talk about 3 myths right now. And dyslexics no longer have any problems with reading as adults. This is sometimes things I've heard sometimes, that some people think that adults with dyslexia don't have problems with reading anymore, just as a child. But that's not true. And I also work in another network when I work together with 5 countries in Europe, and we have done a survey in June 2021, and one of the questions there to these dyslexics in our 5 countries was, what is the biggest problem for you? Most serious problem. And on the top, it was actually the reading. So reading is for many dyslexics, many adults with dyslexia, a big problem. And this is what I also see in my work with dyslexics. So if you're a dyslexic, you're always a dyslexic. It always takes a long time to read a text for dyslexics. Yes, with our eyes it can take a long time to read texts. But if we read in other ways, we can do it very fast. And I'm going to talk more about this in my presentation in a while. So I will answer it later, but the answer is no on that. It's not right. And the last thing I would like to share about these common myths about dyslexia, because you talk about dyslexic strengths, you deny the problems. Sometimes I actually hear this. But of course it's not true. Because of course you don't deny the problems because of you talking about the dyslexic strengths. You need to see the whole picture. We need to understand the problems, and I talk about them a lot in my educations and in my speaks. So it's important to see the problems and what we need to do about this, and to understand them and what the results will be from them, of course. But it's also important to see the dyslexic strengths and understand the dyslexic way of thinking. So that is false. That is not. That is a myth as well, because it's important. You can of course talk about the dyslexic strengths and also the problems at the same time, because the most important here is to see the whole picture. Because reading, if we talk about reading today, reading is not the same thing as for 80 years ago. It's something else today. Today we can read with our eyes. Today we can read with our ears. And today, some of us can read with our hands, with the fingers. If you're blind, you can read with the fingers instead. But the result is the same. So, which way you read, which way you use, if you use your eyes, ears, or fingers to read, the result is the same. And for dyslexics, our ears is very important. So ear reading, I used to call it ear reading. Reading by our ears is our main way of read, many of us. So ear reading is very important for us. And I have been writing 2 books, Dyslexia Strengths True from 2015, and Dyslexia in School, See the Whole Picture from this year, 2021. And the last book here is about the school and how you can think and do as a teacher, and how dyslexia is in school, how you better can understand your dyslexic students, and how you can do in the classroom to even better understand the problems and what they causes, and also how you can also letting the dyslexic strengths be a part in the classroom. So Dyslexia in School, See the Whole Picture is about the whole picture in school and how you can do as a teacher. But if you write books and you are dyslexic, and I would like that dyslexics can read them as well, this is very important for me, how the books looks like and how the information is in them. And I use different kind of techniques here, but one of them, and maybe the most important, is that it's so important that you can listen to the text very easily. So I use a technique named Dyslexi listening codes, and you find a listen code beside the text. Then use your phone. Often you just need to open the camera and hold it there. And then by your phone you listen to the text. And it's prepared, and it's a real voice you hear. A real professional reader from a studio. And you see that this symbol is look like a QR code, and it is in the middle, but then it's a speech bubble around it. And when you see this symbol, you know that it's also that it is a listening codes. And you do like this. Now you are going to see a short film.
Do you find it hard to read? Do you have trouble seeing the text? Do you not know the language very well? Or do you need to close the book and go to work? With Dyslexi, you can easily choose if you want to listen to a text instead of reading it. In a book, pamphlet, or other printed text with Dyslexi listening codes, you can, using your cell phone, easily transform the text to speech. Just scan the listening code using your cell phone. Then you can listen to the text read out loud by a professional reader. And you can also control the speed of reading. Accessible text, read with your eyes or your ears. Choose your way. Check out Dyslexi.com for more information.
Yes, so this is something that all text producer can order. You order it on www.dyslexi.com, and so you can have it on a menu or a text in a museum or in a book or a school book, and in a newspaper or an information paper or something. So that is a way that you can spread your information in text to more people. So, dyslexia, yes, it is reading and writing problems. Yes, of course. But I would like to take away the dots here. And I would like to describe it instead as a way of thinking and a way of functioning. And that way of thinking, that result in reading and writing problems, and result also in the strengths, in the dyslexic strengths. And by spread this wide picture of dyslexia, I also arranged a conference 2019, the 3rd of June, in Stockholm in Sweden, and with some colleagues from all over the world. And you are going to see a very, very short film right now about it as well.
Your Royal Highness, honored guests, and feed organizers, thank you so much for having us here today.
Vi är olika och det är meningen. Vi behöver bara bli bättre på att inse värdet av det.
So I tell the young dyslexics, time is on your side. All the things you've had trouble with are becoming less and less important. All the things you're good at are becoming more and more important.
Så boken bygger på ett dussin intervjuer med dyslektiker. I utställningen här bakom så kan ni se utdrag ur boken.
I think the question we need to be asking is not what's wrong with the dyslexic brain, but what is dyslexic cognition for?
Så vitt jag vet ingen Nobelpristagare, åtminstone inte vi har träffat, som säger att trots min dyslexi så har jag lyckats. Utan alla säger tack vare.
Dyslexia Land har 2 verksamhetsområden. Det ena är att vi jobbar för ett ökad respekt och förståelse för alla med dyslexi.
Dyslexia is a way of thinking that enhances our ability to adapt to change. And today humanity needs people with this way of thinking more than ever.
Man vill ha en skola, alla ska gå och alla ska lära sig enligt så här, va? Och det är fullständigt omöjligt.
Vi skulle kunna spara stora samhällskostnader där vi behöver göra insatser för de som vi har skopat ut ur samhällsfunktioner.
Det är någonting som vi får hjälpas åt med, att bredda normen. Och vara uppmärksam och sprida dyslexistyrkorna. Och med det vill jag säga stort tack alla som har deltagit under den dagen, som har lyssnat och som har talat. Tack så mycket.
So in this day we have an art exhibition as well on the theme dyslexia, and also a lot of speeches from people around the world. And this, with people around the world, this is so important because we are a lot of people from different countries and different parts of the world who work with this wide perspective of dyslexia. And I think collaboration is so important to do this more spread and do this area stronger, that we see the whole picture of dyslexia. So after this day, I started to think a little bit, what can we do? And I think that maybe we can do more together. So I started this group, or I asked a lot of people, would you like to be a part of it? And a lot of them say, yeah, they said yes. So now we have this whole International Dyslexia Strengths Network, and it's a lot of us who work on this wide picture of dyslexia. So we are people from US, from UK, from Iran, from France, from Sweden with me, in Netherlands, and we from Singapore, from China, etc. So this is a very interesting forum with a lot of competencies. So a lot in my work is about spreading the approach about dyslexia. I work a lot in Sweden, but also in other countries as well. And I also talk a lot about our society and about norms in our society, because that affects also dyslexia a lot, and how we understand dyslexia, and also how dyslexics themselves understand themselves, and also how working places and schools need to do, and what they need to understand. So dyslexia is a lot about our society as well. And how we do with text is also a thing that I work a lot with. And I showed you one suggestions in this before. So a lot about this is about norms, and we have a lot of ways of doing things in our society. If we talk about to take in information, we use films and pictures and graphics and audio and text and a lot of things. But it's important to know that it's very often that some of these ways are more valued than others. And do you know what way is in the top? It is reading, and especially reading with our eyes. And this is what I call the text norm, that we valued the text so much in some situations, especially in schools. So when I'm in schools, I talk a lot about the text norm because it's quite hard to know about it and understand and see it if you are in it. It's much easier to see it if you are outside it, as for example in a dyslexic. So I talk a lot to teachers about that we need to understand and see this text norm and how that affects dyslexic in schools, and also in the whole society. It is very important to understand this text norm, and it's don't need to be like this, because we have so many ways today, and it happens a lot and very fast. But still, the text norm is very strong sometimes, and especially in school, but also in working places and etc. And this is a picture I took it some years ago from a car window in India, and beside the car this man with his bike and with a lot of textbooks on it, and it looks like it's very heavy for him. And that feeling can be a little bit similar for what dyslexics can feel in these text norms. And yes, so that can be a quite hard thing actually, and it's important that we understand how the text norm results for dyslexics. Yes, we started with this picture on the animals, and I will end this introduction of my work also by talking about another animal. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So it is so important with a perspective all the time, and especially with dyslexia. So my last words is: see the whole picture of dyslexia, including the dyslexic strengths. We have so much to win by doing this in schools, in working places, in the whole society. We need to see this, and especially in the time like ours. We have a lot of things that we need to thinking new, to get new solutions, to create new things, to change our thinking. We have a lot of hard things that we need to change in our time. So we need people who think differently. We need people to have this big perspective, to have this visual thinking, creative thinking, that people that see new solutions and are problem solvings and are creative and things like that. So we have so much to win by seeing the whole picture of dyslexia, including the dyslexic strengths. So thank you for listening to this introduction of my work and what I'm doing in Sweden, and also together with other countries. So thank you for listening, and see you again.